Sure. Actually, I've been with you for quite a while. I just stay in the background, listening and learning. Thank you very much. So, look, I've been on a cycle for 20 weeks now, and I monitor my blood every 3 weeks for sure, tracking it very closely. And I am working with a very understanding MD who's supportive of the fact that I'm doing this.
How old are you, sir? How old are you?
I'm 60 years old.
Wow, you look phenomenal. You're lean.
Yeah, I've got six-pack abs at this point.
Guys, I'm right behind him, right? I'm 59, I'll be 60 in October. Have you done steroids throughout your life, or can you tell us a little about that?
No history of doing steroids. I was 240 pounds some time back, and I decided that I was just going to lose that weight. And what happened is I got skinny fat. I went back down to my college weight, which was 154 pounds, and I still had man boobs and a belly and the whole nine yards. I'd lost all my muscle mass. And so I started working out because I knew that that was part of the answer. But I wasn't getting far enough, right? So, you're 57, 58, you're trying to put on muscle mass. It's really hard. So I went and did the little TRT pellets thing. And that helped a little bit, but it wasn't really great. And I've worked with that MD for quite a while now. And she's completely convinced that, using actual testosterone injections is the right way to go.
Wow.
So the first cycle I've ever done is the one that I started this year at the end of February.
Wow.
So beyond TRT, so she had me at the end of the reference range, around 900 to 1,000. But moving well beyond that, after I did a lot of research, I just made a decision that I was going to move on and try out a few compounds and see what happened. And it's a night and day difference.
What compounds?
Okay. So, testosterone and anthate, obviously. And then a little bit of Deca, just a tiny amount of Deca for my joints. I've really noticed it on the joint support. Primobolan, Anavar, and very careful with the Anavar, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on. My AST, ALTs are really sharp. All my numbers are beautiful. I keep everything in a spreadsheet. I'll show it to you in a minute. Lately, I've introduced, for the last 6 weeks of this cycle, I've introduced Tren.
Whoa!
So, and I get none of the side effects that people talk about with Tren. I don't know what they're talking about.
What are your doses?
You're gonna hate me.
Well, this is education. So this is a 60-year-old guy.
How do I share my screen here? I did a 24-week cycle. It's a hypertrophy workout cycle. It involves 200 to 300 minutes a week of cardio also, just to keep that whole cardio process going. I'm 60 years old. This is my first AAS cycle. Now, before you read this, I didn't start here. I started with just, 200 mgs of Testi, and I slowly titrated up and added these throughout the cycle. So I'm at a pretty big number right now.
Wow.
I've got to be honest with you. I don't feel any of the side effects people talk about.
Wow.
These numbers.
This is fascinating. So you're over 2 grand, guys. This is fascinating. Yeah. And I'm gonna have to throw in some harm reduction sooner or later. That's okay. Well, it's incredible.
We're gonna be ending this cycle in 5 weeks, right? So it's done. I'm gonna take a nice long break. Right. We're gonna I don't think I'm gonna be doing a PCT. I just don't see the reason for me to do a PCT. I think I'm just gonna go on a cruise dose of testosterone for a good 12 to 18 weeks, and then we'll see what happens.
Right.
I've added these supplements over here. Well, not supplements, but these ancillaries. I do a little bit of Cavazor because of the trend, because I noticed that my prolactin was going up. The anastrozole, I've rarely used it, maybe 4 or 5 times, but my estrogen levels have been just amazing. Telmisartan, when we introduced the trend, I did notice that my blood pressure went up. It was the first time. So about 2-3 weeks ago, we introduced Telmisartan to try to control some blood pressure. I was using tirzepatide, but it was killing my pancreas. That's the one thing that I found that was not so good for me. Oddly enough, it was tirzepatide as a peptide, not one of the anabolic steroids. The thing that I found, and I can show you this in the blood work, is that I've got elevated platelets. They're just slightly above the reference range.
Hold on. Is that something you have at baseline before you did any of this? That's from the cycle you did.
The platelets, if we look at my platelets over here, we will see that platelets are at 400. You can see it in yellow. So you can see from years, I've been tracking blood work for years. And so my baseline is around 230, 250. But once I started doing the cycle, you can see them climbing up.
But now hold on. Now, look at the WBCs. Those were proportionally elevated. See that the WBCs are 10K, 15K. Look at that. And then they went down. So this is fascinating. When you look at did your doctor pick that up? Did your doctor discuss this? Your CBC changes on the CBC, including the white blood cells, the red blood cells, and the platelets. This is rare. Something else is going.
Yeah, we go through this. We do go through it. So you think that that's a rare thing?
It's absolutely rare. There's something else. Maybe you had an infection. Maybe there's something else going on, and you are on cumulatively a very large amount of anabolic steroids, and that is not known to have that reactionary effect on the platelet or the WBC line. There's nothing to say. I'm just bringing it up. You have to be careful. That's all.
Yeah. Right here, when it was 15.65, for some reason I had some type of stomach virus and they put me in the hospital. This is the reason.
Well, there it is, sir. There it is. This is something that is probably a complete red herring. Okay? So you have to be careful with that. You have to be, especially at 60 years old, with the potential for hypercoagulable state. But I want to point that out. But you did a very good job on your nomogram, because you've indicated that at that time, at a temporal point on the timeline, you had an infection, right? So you were in the hospital, no less. So that would be that has nothing to do. This is where the science and the clinical history that I have, my experience, that has nothing to do with the steroids. But then again, caregivers are going to say, hey, the steroids are increasing when you're walking and chewing gum, where you have to understand there's so many moving parts, and this is strictly a coincidence.
Cool. AST and ALTs obviously are starting to move to the top of the reference range from the orals.
Right.
But historically, I've been in that 20 to 25 mark.
They're not even that. They're not that high. And oral, you're on a lot of different medications, and when the problem, we need to get drugs. We need to get compounds like the ones you're using. Some are legitimate in America, decadorabolin and testosterone, right? Anavar, depending on where you go. But, the other agents, you're getting them off the internet, and it's to me, it's unethical. I'm here to protect. So hopefully in the future, we're going to be able to guide that with proper quality of manufacturing grade pharmaceutical agents, because I'm sure your doctor is like, to some degree, because you're mixing pharmaceutical medications, which hopefully are pure in America, right? At compounding facilities and maybe in Power Pharmacy and places that are great. And then that's where we're blind, right, sir? We're blind to, if there's a side effect, we don't know, is it a contamination? And that's just, I want men to understand that. Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah. As much as possible, I filter my oils through a 22 micron filter. Sometimes I will actually heat the oil, but I buy from very reputable locations, places that have like 1 billion reviews. I try not to buy overseas, try to buy local.
Let's do your ABCDs real quick. You don't have diabetes or pre-diabetes. What's your hemoglobin A1C?
So I'm about 5'7". So historically, I was type 2 diabetes. I was like just pre-type 2 diabetes because I was 240 pounds, right? So I fought that for quite a while. Yeah, it tends to stay in that 5'6", 5'7" range right over here. So you can see it pre-cycle.
Right.
See, it hasn't changed.
Fascinating. You need to get that down. This is just your age with your history of being overweight and your genetics.
Yeah. I'm on a very carnivore keto diet. I don't really eat anything. My blood sugar stays pretty stable. I keep a monitor on the metformin, probably. This is what I'm told.
Listen, sir, you have to be careful to add all these agents together. So when you come off the cycle and you're on testosterone, it would be smart to take a breather and then start say 750 milligrams extended release metformin with your doctor. This is going to protect you because of your age and your history of impaired fasting glucose state.
Yeah, you're pretty nice. And I recognize that that's what I have.
How's the blood pressure?
So the blood pressure has always been great. Like I'm a 110, 118 over 70, 75.
Right.
Until I introduced Tren. And then I went up to like 135 over 85.
Wow. How much Tren? How much Tren did you introduce?
So I started at a very low dose, like about 75 mgs a week. And then I started titrating up, and I'm at about 500 mgs right now.
Wow.
And I'm at 560 mgs a week of Tren. And I'm not finding anything other than the BP. But last night I didn't take my telmisartan. My BP was 118 over 72.
It's going to be a lot of variability. So A, B, C cholesterol. Have you done a calcium score?
Yeah, I've got a 4 on, it's a 4.
Wow. Okay, calcium score, 60-year-old guy, 4, being with a history of being overweight, good for you. Good for you.
Well, yeah, I've always eaten right, so I just ate too much.
It's luck, sir. You have good genetics. You're lucky.
Yeah, I am lucky. No heart attacks in my family. Nobody's ever.
You see that, guys? You see that? You picked your parent. You did a great job picking your mother and father. Good job
on that. Yeah. They get cancer, though, I'll tell you that. Cholesterol, my total cholesterol is 149 right now. So this is the history of my cholesterol right here. My total cholesterol.
Right.
What's interesting is that my HDL has come down, which we could predict because of the compounds I'm taking. Right. And my LDL has gone up, obviously, but my LDL at 105 right now is not higher than my LDL.
Sir, let me comment. This is unusual. You're very lean. You're eating great. You're on carnivore. If the average guy that does carnivore, which is great for the glucose and the pre-diabetes and the impaired fasting glucose, it's typically horrible. There's no free lunch for the LDL, but does it matter for that man? Look at your baseline cholesterol panel. It's amazing. You, sir, have, and this is, forget the diet. Even when you were overweight, your cholesterol never looked that bad. It's just genetic.
Yeah.
And then listen, your family history coincides. Men, pay attention. Family history, where there's smoke, there's going to be fire. Now, sir, you need to look at your LP(a) and your apolipoprotein B. Is it in here? These are isolated atherogenic particles. It's LP(a). You need to do that. But I'll bet you your LP(a) is non-existent because of your genetics. If you had more plaque in the artery, that's no shit. It's just guys, you don't go far. Low-hanging fruit. The LDL, the HDL, your family history, and then you look at residual risks. They're called residual risk. It's a residual after you do the basics, ABCDs. But I have to go into it because when you look at apolipoprotein B, it's a surrogate indicator that in the expert opinion of lipidologists, which I follow closely, is maybe more accurate than an LDL. That's it. And then the LP(a), which you have not done, is a completely isolated atherogenic density. I can almost guarantee that it's going to be inconsequential. It's going to have no impact because if it was higher, you'd either be dead, have stents and bypass, or certainly more plaque, more hardened plaque. This is a great case. Sir, you're very lucky. This is just great genetics. When I said you picked your parents well, you didn't chuckle. This guy's lucky and he's playing with the drugs. I've played with the drugs too for decades, and I'm lucky because my genetics are for heart disease really good. But I still had heart disease because I did steroids and I was fat as f***, and I was hypertensive, and I did it to myself, right? But it is what it is. This guy's got very good genetics. You're not out of the woods though, sir. You want to live to 110 or 120 with me and kill it the whole fucking way. That little 6 is going to rear its head. Now D, let's do D. Let's go into this is the stuff the anti-aging doctors don't know how to do because they're not board certified internal medicine doctors and they don't study hematology. This is the androgen induced erythrocytosis, with the understanding that that's an isolated issue. You have to look at it relating to the metabolism of iron. Now let's look at it. There it is. Not bad, sir.
So the only time I gave a blood donation is where the yellow is.
You didn't even need to do that, sir. Where's your iron? Guys, pay attention, guys. A little high though, sir. A little high. Now, ferritin is going to go up. Can anyone tell me why the ferritin may be 378? Remember the history? He was sick.
Oh, yeah.
He was sick. Pay attention. Ferritin is not just a marker of iron storage. It also acts as an acute phase reactant, similar to a sed rate or an inflammatory marker. You could trust me on that. So it's interesting that his baseline ferritin is 253, which is okay. 331, 280, 251, 176. He gave blood somewhere along the line, and then you see it 378. But you have to understand, you can't make decisions on this when you have systemic inflammation. Remember the WBCs, the hospitalization, and the platelets. You're quite lucky because there's other men that are here that are in the world, billions of men that have genetics for being very sensitive to iron metabolism in the excess. It's called hereditary hemochromatosis. There's thalassemias and, of course, sickle cell. This is the whole spectrum of the hemoglobin moiety. And this is where the anti-aging, I mean, there's no way they're going to understand this. I barely understand it after 20 years working with the best hematology doctors in the country and abroad. So you're okay, sir, but you need to watch simultaneously the acute red blood cells, CBC, that's the CBC with the red cells that are going to be affected by it. It's incredible. It's incredible. You're on all this androgen and your numbers are not even really affected. It's great genetics. Guys are on testosterone, baby doses of testosterone, and their hematocrit and their hemoglobin goes off the chart up to 20, north of 20 milligrams per deciliter. The hematocrit goes north of 58 to 60. They're dumping blood. It's getting worse. Their iron may be high, ferritin's high, which is dangerous, or they're tanking and they're living in a paradox. They have a high erythrocytosis product, which is potentially dangerous for strokes, heart attacks, pulmonary embolisms, venous thromboembolism. That's the DVT, which does happen. We don't have a handle on it. And then at the same time, deposition of iron disease. That's why it's D. And you have to look at the fingerprints. You're just lucky, sir. You don't have a sensitivity with the red cells. Your heart is phenomenal. You have great genetics. And that's why you're able to play. First of all, you're 60 and you're otherwise very healthy and you've done a great job with your behavior and you're playing with steroids. But you, at this age, have been lucky to have quite a depth of health reserve. Like young men have health reserve that's very deep because they're brand new. They're new creatures. They're young creatures. Now, most men, as they get older, even without steroids, heart attacks, diabetes, strokes. I mean, come on, guys. Now, you're just very lucky, sir. You're very lucky. Your kidneys look great, too. You're lucky.
Yeah, and believe me, anytime along the way, had any numbers started really getting out of whack, I would have stopped everything. I just would have, I have this discipline of I don't want to mess around with my health too much. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I've got a VO2 max of 53 as a 60-year-old. Right?
Your heart's great.
Your heart's great. We're done. We want to move on. That was a very thorough review. Thank you.
Doc, I want to thank you for all the work that you're doing because I've been following you for months. I've read your book. I really like your book. And I read the Llewellyn book, and I read the section in the Llewellyn book that you wrote.
Thank you.
And it really helped me understand where I could go with this. And so I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
You have to stay on board for the next iteration. Wait till you see the next iteration that Bill and I have produced together. on the coding. It's going to be in iOS and Android. So, but just tell as many men as you can, please, to come on board. We want to spread the word, and we want to get testosteronologists that we're training. We want to send a lot of patients to them. We really are going to take over the world of androgens.
Yeah, we need to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, that was a long one, guys, but that was very important. We're going to feature that one.